everyone, welcome back to my channel. I promised you guys this video a while back. I did 5 things on my mind, and one of them was around the teen pregnancy issue that came up during KCPE. The numbers were crazy, and I remember the CS also talked about it. But the funny thing is, why was there a concern then? And it's been an issue for such a long time. And now it's kind of linking this to sex education, and when and how is the appropriate time to introduce sex education for your children. I have amazing panelists with me today. I'd like them to introduce themselves. We'll start with the gentleman.
Hi, my name is Reverend Dr. Pete Odera. I'm the senior pastor at the Waterbrook Church, so I'm a minister. That's one of the hats I wear. I'm a musician. Most people know me for my music. I'm involved in media, in helping develop media ideas, media products. That's one of the things. The third thing I do. Number 4 thing I do is I deal with mentorship. I run a mentorship thing. I love to see people flourish and become everything that they can be.
Okay.
So I'm Valentine Njoroge. I have been writing about sex and relationships for about 10 years. I started in the Star. Now I have a YouTube channel called Valentine Njoroge.
I'll link it down below.
And I've created a course called Kids and Bodies to help parents talk to their kids about their own bodies, because I don't think the sex conversation is a one-time. And what else? I run an event called Datasphere, which is the TED for African women.
Amazing.
Okay, I'm Viola Sujambo. I'm an 18-year-old young mom. I'm a student, basically, that's it.
Yeah. Thank you for coming from Eldoret.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And I found out about you on my timeline because I posted, I talked a little bit about, I put out the question on my Instagram, talked about the, teen pregnancy and just saying, why are we so surprised now? And Viola was, great enough to say, look, I'd love to participate if there's a discussion. So thank you so much for taking the time to come. So
I have a theory about that, about why teen pregnancy is so alarming now. So 14 years ago, Kibaki put in the free primary school education. I think because of that, we have more girls in school than Kenya has ever had. And that's why we're seeing so many...
Well, that makes sense.
So many pregnant moms. It's because they were pregnant teens. It's because they were pregnant, but they just weren't in school.
That's true. So we couldn't see them. We didn't know about them. They were back home.
So this is actually a comment on a system that's working. The girls are in school. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the issue.
I have a theory about it as well.
Okay.
But what I feel is that sometimes we misunderstand what the real issue is. So I was looking, when Janet told me that I'm going to, I want you to be on this panel, I started thinking, but what is the real problem? So I looked at statistics, because I said, are we alarmed about something that's real, or is it an attribution error? So we have a 2018 study that says 20% of young people, that is 1 out of every 5, are sexually active between 19 and 24. Between 15 and 24. We have I looked at a 2017 study that said 25%, 2017. Then I looked at a 1991 study that said something like 36%, or about 30% were sexually active. So if you ask me, from a statistical point of view, this number's coming down, yay. But I think that when it happens in the middle of exams, Kenya's become a very knee-jerk society. Yeah. And what happens is, if there's a crisis, we'll jump from this crisis to that crisis, and it'll be a crisis. Yeah. And then we'll deal with it wrongly, because I don't think it's even enough for us to be concerned that our young people will always be interested in sex. This is a thing that we in Kenya will not accept. Now I'm speaking not just as a pastor, I'm just saying because as a parent, as long as women are shaped the way they are, and I'm a man who has a hormonal structure that's normal, I will be attracted to members of the opposite sex. It is a natural thing. It's a natural thing. So we have to stop, and I think on one thing I agree with you, we have to stop demonizing sex. We have to stop demonizing it, because, and I say this in, when we're doing premarital counseling for couples, I say to them, God created your sexual organs. And that's a quantum leap for many people. This wasn't the devil's idea. God said...
But it's actually, I think, that one of the devil's most comprehensive theft jobs. He stole sex from God, from Christians.
And he warped it into this
He
evil
warped
thing.
it. So you mentioned sex, you can't be a Christian.
Yeah.
You mentioned sex, you can't even be a good Muslim, you can't be a good Hindu, you can't be a
good
good
anything.
Yeah, be
You know?
demonized. And
Yes.
in fact, I wanted to come to Valentine about the point of demonizing sex education before we hear a little bit about V's story and get your perspective as a parent and a
Absolutely.
pastor. Yeah, so sex education, how would you describe it? How would you describe it first? You know, people are like, is it talking to kids about sex? How do you do it? How do you understand sex education?
I understand it as it's a part of creating it's helping your child create their relationship with their body. I don't think it's sex education regarding just intercourse. That's a very small part of your sexual journey, even as a human being, because everything goes into your sex life. If you're overweight, it affects your sex life. If you're underweight, it affects your sex life. If you don't think yourself as attractive, if you don't have the proper vocabulary to describe your body parts, that affects your sex life. So it's something as basic as potty training and teaching your child that their excrement is not the body part. So your son should know, I have a penis and susu comes out of it. But we don't say susu and penis and everything is collapsed, because now later on, when this person is trying to describe something to their partner, they already have an excrement, like a collapse.
Yeah.
Like it's a dirty, unpleasant thing that I'm imposing on another person, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's as basic as, that's why I don't think it's one conversation.
Absolutely.
It's several. It's
several, and it's throughout life, you know?
And then when do you think, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this as well, when is a good time? When is the right time? Because someone will say, you know, you were talking about your, you know, your toddler being 3 and you kind of explained to him what his organs are and what they're used for. Some might say, but when do you begin to have the conversation about sex?
Like actual intercourse?
Like actual intercourse.
I'm a fan of letting the child lead and having your child answer your child's question.
Okay.
So when they ask you a question, answer it. Don't give too much information. Go with less and then ask them, is that what you are asking? And then give more, and then incrementally answer their question.
Okay.
But also listen, like, okay, why is this question coming up? Then you'll find out who's talking to your child about these things. Is it kids on the playground? Is it the maid? Is it a cousin? Like, what's happening?
Yes.
So consistently, like, you know, they ask you the question, you do answer, but then also ask them, who said this? Where's it coming from?
I like that. I like the whole idea of letting them lead. Yeah.
I have
Yes.
Tell us
two
about you.
girls. One's 18, the other 16. We had this conversation for both of them when they were 9.
Okay.
Around 9. For different reasons.
Did they ask or did you initiate?
One we initiated,
Uh-huh.
and the other was sort of things happen. And I want to say that carefully because not every situation is the same.
Right.
And I think it's important though that because our society is currently overly sexualized. You have sexy cars, sexy phones, sexy anything.
Posts on Instagram.
Yes.
You know, sexy accounts. They
Sexy
sexed
things.
up they sexed up the account. I said, how does accounts become sexy?
Yeah.
So because that conversation, we are living in a society that's heavily exposed to sexuality, then the questions come up much earlier. And we have to then be willing to engage our children at an earlier age than, certainly for me, earlier than I was. The first time I heard that conversation, I think I was about 8,
Okay.
but was none of my parents. It was an aunt who I love dearly, and she's the first who I ever heard the word love, sex from, and made the connection. And I'm thankful because love and sex were in the same
The same sentence.
Okay.
Right.
Whereas many people come to think about sex and love as dirty. I have my own story that is just, and then it's a bit crazy because there's this whole stud. You have to be a stud because you're a guy. There's the stud conversation, and a stud has these things. And we grew up. I grew up with a lot of mixed signals. So I was confident that I wanted to tell my kids a very clear signal that it's God created. This is your body. This is how you need to do this, and so that they grew up understanding. And my girls, I think, grew up with a fairly balanced understanding about what it is. I'm a pastor now. I'm having these conversations with people, and as they come into my office and they're trying to get married, I ask a very pointed question. What was your first sexual experience? And I have this sort of blank Pastor, you're asking me this.
There's this shame that comes with it.
Just as a physical act, they should know what it is.
Yeah.
Because also they're being exposed to so much. If they see inappropriate material, what they should be able to describe it to you, mom or dad, and say, I watched this, or somebody showed me this, or suggested this.
And you're hoping they'll be open enough to come to you as parents, because the other issue is there's a lot of fear.
I also think
there's a lot of
parents should
shame.
be the sexual authority in their child's life. I don't think that's something you should outsource as a parent.
I want to come to that. That's a brilliant point.
I really don't. It's too important.
It's too important. For you, V, was there any point at which your parents talked to you about sex?
No.
Yeah.
No, as much as I can remember.
You can't.
Maybe after the delivery, that is when we can hold that conversation with my mom, but no, my mother.
So when did you first know about sex? When did you first hear about it?
Okay, but first big sex when I was in class 4. And then it's a mixed school and it's normal, and you're in Marafiki.
So, okay, can I ask, how did the father of your baby, were you dating? Were you in the same school?
Okay.
Disclaimer: I've invited Valentine to also to ask questions to co-host. So no haters on the comment, please.
I'm taking over.
No. This is and Dr. Pete as well. Very organic conversation. Please go ahead, Valentine. Please go ahead. No, it's fine.
Yes. So so were you dating? Were you in the same school?
This is actually what happened when I was in Form 2. There's friends of mine who used to dance. So I was actually passionate about dancing. But then they wouldn't give me permission to go dance. So I will sneak home and go dance. So this is where I met this guy. We became friends. Yeah, we were actually, let me say we were dating, basically.
Is he in your daughter's life?
No.
Do you speak? His family?
How much older is he than you?
We just age mates because
Okay.
he's in Form 2.
Now the studies are showing that this is the case. The person who is most likely to have sexual relations with a young woman is either in their class or a neighbor, and this is stuff that we have to say, a neighbor, a classmate, a schoolmate, or somebody in that surrounding. You're not going to have, the kid's not going to go to Mombasa.
Someone familiar to them.
Someone familiar
yes.
to them.
But studies are also showing it's teachers, it's boda guys, it's the kiosk guys,
and that's why I feel
and
like
they're older than the girls.
Right.
And if you look at HIV prevalence, the rates for 18 to 24-year-old men look like the rates for 15 to 18-year-old girls, which are triple what they are for boys 15 to 18. Have I explained the stats?
No, you have. And for me, those stats are the ones that we need to almost, I don't want to say separate, they're demystified, because
what does it mean?
What does it mean? I know, for example, because I, really follow up a lot of conversations around period poverty. It's huge in some parts of, for example, Western Kenya, where you've got 15-year-olds having transactional sex for pads. And, then running the risk of being HIV. So I do feel like that's a conversation that we really need to demystify.
Yes.
And I don't know how separate or linked it is to the one that we're talking about, which
I think it's very linked. Because the girl who's having sex for pads is not going to demand condom use. She's already disadvantaged in that she's having the transactional sex. So she's not in a position to be like, well, if this is happening, then you need to put on a condom and
No.
It's not, she's not the one calling the shots.
She's not the one calling the
no
shots.
power.
There's no power.
She has no power. I'm struggling to tell parents now that it doesn't matter what level of letdown it would appear to you, the person who's affected most by that pregnancy is the teen.
Yes.
And we have to have a space where the teen can come and say, Mom, Dad, this is what has happened. And I've said this to my kids, I try and say this to my church, that if you come home, if you come here and say, this is what happened to me, I want it to be a safe space. I could be disappointed, I could be frustrated, but my love for you is still unconditional.
I want to take it back to you, V. How were you able to talk to your parents? Take us through what happened. You found out you were pregnant, and then what happened?
So when I found out I was pregnant, the school principal called my mom to come to school. The school principal talked to my mom. My mom was okay, it's fine. But now how do I break the news to your father? Because now the father will say it's the mother who failed. They blame him. But then the principal said he will call my father the next day back to school. So my father came. He just came from Nairobi, told her where we were schooling in Nairobi. So he came and he talked to my father. So when my father told me, he will support me, but now he can't take me home now that I'm pregnant. I should just stay in school until it closes second term, and then now when I go for delivery, I will stay home, and he'll still support me back to school even after delivery. But then I knew the remaining 5 months was going to be entangled with sarcastic and harsh comments, which was
in school,
in
yeah.
school, even at home,
Right.
because it could be just asking for something directly, like how should they cook this, and they will be like, who told you to get pregnant at 17? Did you ask anybody if you should get pregnant? But then with the time, the environment became conducive, and they've helped me bring up the kids.
So your parents came around.
Yeah.
But also the school lets you stay, because sometimes some schools it's
kick
illegal,
you,
but
yes.
some schools kick girls out. Yes.
The school, the
So
school
dad made a
principal-
good decision.
the school- Yeah, the school
Kudos.
principal and that.
Yes.
You know.
The school principal also allowed me to stay in school, and I think that year I achieved a lot when I was in school. Like basically that year, because I went for great debaters, I was great, the best debater in the issue. I was going for
Wow.
You were the best debater?
Yeah.
Really?
Were you
Yeah.
standing there
Crazy.
pregnant and winning? Oh, I love it. No, because it sounds, what, it's exactly what you're saying. Pregnancy is not the end of life.
Yeah.
So yes, you're pregnant, but
Yeah.
she will support you, and you can still.
And I think that's, for me, what's powerful about your story is that you were surrounded by support. You were still allowed these opportunities, even to debate by the school, to allow you to do
Yes.
that. You know,
Because there's a lot of shame in some communities where
Yeah.
you get pregnant, it's
And-
like get out of school.
And how did you
go
carry
hide.
yourself through? Were you?
must say.
I mean, you obviously you were saying that the harsh comments and everything must have gotten to you. But what is that thing that kept you going? Would you say?
What kept me going? Okay, basically me, I usually have self-esteem. I'm not the person who can just be put down by
Oh, you have a good.
comments. So I
Okay.
just understood that it's normal for them to act this way, because they didn't expect that from me. So it's
There was an investment.
Very wise.